You can never have true freedom without financial freedom. Okay, let's really unpack this powerful idea that kicks off our deep dive today.
Powerful start.
Right. Freedom may be free, but it has a price. It definitely gives you something to think about.
It really does.
And that price, as we're exploring, well, it often involves gaining a much deeper understanding of finance, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We're diving into the material you shared with us, Rich Dad's Cashflow Quadrant Guide to Financial Freedom.
Yeah, a book that even, 14 years after the original Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as the editor noted, was already challenging conventional wisdom.
And think how much the landscape's changed since then, let alone since '97 when the first one came out.
Exactly. So much has shifted.
What's really interesting is how this core message, questioning traditional financial thinking, it still hits home, especially with all the economic changes the book itself was highlighting back then.
It makes you wonder what was solid advice then might not be now, right?
Precisely. The world keeps changing.
Okay, so for you, our listener, the mission here, our mission for this deep dive, is to really pull out the crucial insights from this guide.
Yeah, we want to help you get a clearer handle on the different paths to, building wealth, achieving financial independence.
Without feeling totally overwhelmed by all the info out there, think of this as maybe a shortcut, a way to get informed on these key ideas.
And the core framework here is the Cashflow Quadrant. The book divides how people earn money into 4 areas.
Right. E, S, B, and I.
Employee, small business, or self-employed, big business owner, and investor.
So our discussion is going to kind of map out the differences, yeah, and look at the journeys people take between them.
Exactly. And a key insight right off the bat, the quadrant shows that real financial freedom isn't just about earning more pay in the ERS.
No, it's more about...
It's about building assets and systems, the B&I side, that work for you. So you're not just working for money.
Okay, let's jump into part 1 then. This really sets the stage, focusing on mindset and education.
Foundational stuff.
The book argues that traditional school, while great for mental development, isn't the whole picture.
Right, it talks about needing mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual education to be a whole human being.
And it suggests school often, maybe unintentionally, programs us for the E or S quadrants. How?
Well, by instilling this fear of making mistakes, of failing.
Which can totally crush the spirit of someone who might otherwise thrive as a B or an I, an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it raises a big question about just relying on academics for success in life. This holistic development idea is key.
Because knowing something intellectually, like how to eat healthy, is totally different from actually doing it consistently. Same with finances. Just knowing isn't enough for real change.
It really rings true. Thinking about my own path, military school, early jobs, definitely wouldn't have led here to being an author and entrepreneur. Looking back, I loved learning. I really did. But traditional school, not always my favorite structure. Felt like a box sometimes. And that fits the book's point, doesn't it? How focusing on avoiding errors rather than learning from them can stifle that B or I spark. Experimentation and learning from failure are huge on the right side of the quadrant.
Exactly. Which leads us to emotional and spiritual development. Why isn't just knowing you should save more money enough?
Because you need that emotional strength, right, to overcome the fear of risk, fear of failure, that analysis paralysis the book mentions for some A students.
That fear is a huge obstacle, isn't it? Especially with big financial moves. We don't talk enough about the emotional side of money.
So true. It's often overlooked in purely logical discussions about wealth.
Which brings us perfectly to the cash flow game the book talks about.
Ah, yes, the board game.
It's presented as this holistic tool. It engages your body-moving pieces, handling play money.
Your mind, obviously, with strategy.
Your emotions, the ups and downs of the game.
And even your spirit, learning with others.
And the key is, you can make financial mistakes with play money. Learn from them safely, like a financial flight simulator almost.
Exactly. It provides that safe space to experience the consequences of decisions, emotionally and practically, without real-world risk. Experiential learning. It sticks much better than just reading theory.
Okay, great foundation. Let's move to part 2 and really dig into the 4 quadrants themselves.
All right. ESBI.
At its core, it's about categorizing how income is generated. E, employee. S, small business or self-employed.
Big business owner. And I, investor.
And the book stresses most people are in at least one, right? But the right side, B and I, that's where the focus shifts.
Shifts to income from businesses you own or investments you hold. The key difference is the source of the income.
Left side, E and S, you're mostly trading time for money. You stop working.
The money often stops. Right side, B and I, it's about creating systems or owning assets that generate income more independently of your direct labor.
And the book uses that great story, Ed and Bill, the water carriers,
Oh yeah, the pipeline story. Classic.
to show the difference between an S mindset and a B mindset. Ed grabs buckets, starts hauling water immediately, trading time and effort for cash.
Right. Hard work, but linear income.
Bill, he vanishes, writes a business plan, incorporates, finds investors, hires people.
And built a pipeline, a system, to deliver water more efficiently, reliably, at scale.
That contrast is everything, isn't it? Ed works in his business, doing the labor. Bill works on his business, building the system.
Exactly. Bill's focused on the model, the scalability. That's the B quadrant thinking. He could be on vacation, and the water and the income keeps flowing.
Whereas Ed has to show up every day with his buckets. If he's sick, no money.
Precisely.
And this ties into the information age idea. Traditional schools, geared for the industrial age, prepared people for the left side, for jobs. But the information age, the book argues, offers huge opportunities for B&I, skills, innovation, systems thinking, leveraging tech.
It's a massive shift. The industrial age valued standardization, hierarchy, E and S stuff. The information age rewards creativity, system building, leveraging information, more B&I skills.
Then there's the author's own story. He and his wife, Kim, they faced homelessness in '85.
Yeah, a really powerful part of the narrative.
But their focus wasn't just job security. It was laser focused on financial freedom.
A very different goal.
And they achieved wealth, he says, by '89, but financial freedom, passive income covering expenses that came later, '94. They're different things.
That distinction is crucial. Wealth can be high income. Freedom is when your assets pay your bills. And their story shows the unconventional path often needed.
And here's a big takeaway that challenges common beliefs. It doesn't take money to make money.
Right. He emphasizes going from homeless and in debt to financially free without huge startup capital or formal degrees.
It really shifts the focus, doesn't it? Away from needing a big pile of cash to start towards financial intelligence, creativity, finding opportunities.
It's liberating. It suggests your starting point financially isn't the main barrier. It's mindset and skills.
And finally, for part 2, the book mentions you can earn income in all 4 quadrants.
Yeah, you're not locked into one. Your main source might reflect your values or skills, but you can operate in others.
Like the doctor example. Employee at a hospital, E, private practice, S, owns clinics, B, invests, I.
Exactly. It allows diversification, leveraging different skills. The quadrant is a map, not a prison cell. You can strategically position yourself.
Okay, let's move to part 3. This gets into the mindsets, the words people use in each quadrant, like a linguistic fingerprint.
It's very revealing. The language people use about work and money often shows their core values and fears.
The E quadrant, employee, what's the focus?
Security, benefits. It's often a response to fear of economic uncertainty.
You hear things like, I need a safe, secure job with good benefits, that desire for predictability.
That's it. Safe, secure, benefits keywords, pointing to a stability-focused mindset, trying to avoid financial risk.
Then the S quadrant, small business, self-employed.
Here, the drive is often being your own boss. Control, doing things your way.
And that direct link, effort in, pay out.
Right. You might hear, my rate is X per hour, or if you want it done right, do it yourself. Independence, but often a reluctance to delegate.
They want to maintain that quality and control directly.
Exactly.
Okay, moving to B quadrant. Big shift here.
Huge shift. The focus isn't on doing it all yourself anymore. It's finding good people and building effective systems.
Like the Henry Ford example in the book. Less about personal effort, more leadership, delegation, scalable processes.
Yeah, the B mindset is about scalability and leverage. Building something that runs, ideally grows, without your constant hands-on involvement, through systems and a great team.
Which leads perfectly to distinguishing S from B. It's not just size, is it?
No, it's fundamentally about system dependency versus owner dependency.
The book uses the McDonald's hamburger analogy.
Ah, yes. Great illustration.
An S might obsess over making the perfect gourmet burger. Unique, artisanal.
Focused intensely on the product itself.
AB, like Ray Kroc with McDonald's, focuses on the system around a pretty standard, maybe not the best, but consistent and profitable burger.
Exactly. The B mindset prioritizes the replicable, scalable, efficient business model over perfecting the individual product. Can this system work everywhere, profitably, without me?
That's the core difference. Working in the business, S, versus building a system around the product, B.
Couldn't say it better.
All right, part 4, the path to freedom. It starts with a stark contrast, how the rich get their income versus everyone else.
Yeah, the stats presented are pretty eye-opening. Rich people, typically 70% or more income from investments, less than 30% from wages.
Often wages from their own companies for strategic reasons.
Right. And for the poor and middle class, it's flipped to 80% plus from wages, maybe less than 20% from investments, if any.
That disparity really highlights the power of owning income-generating assets, doesn't it? Reducing reliance on a job.
It's fundamental, owning assets versus selling time.
Which leads to the book's definition of wealth, not just dollars in the bank.
No, it's measured in time.
Time, explain that.
How many days could you survive maintaining your current lifestyle if you stopped working today? That's your wealth.
Okay. So it's about how long your assets can sustain you. Much more practical.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from just accumulating cash to creating passive income streams that cover your expenses.
So the I quadrant investor becomes crucial. This is where money works for you.
Right. Capital generating more capital, so you don't have to trade your time anymore.
And the book distinguishes between planning to invest for retirement versus being an I whose primary income comes from investments now.
Yeah, it's an active strategy for building wealth long before retirement age, ideally. Essential for true financial freedom.
Okay, now this leads into a critique of traditional retirement plans, like the 401k. The book raises some concerns.
It does. It presents a somewhat contrarian view.
Like taxes. Lower long-term capital gains rates versus potentially higher ordinary income tax on 401k withdrawals.
Penalties for early withdrawal, if you need the money, before 59 and a half.
Lack of insurance against big market crashes.
And the idea that maybe these plans are better if you expect lower income in retirement, which isn't always the goal.
Plus, the risk of just saving money because of inflation, especially since the dollar isn't backed by gold anymore, its value erodes.
Right. The critique encourages a more active, educated approach to investing, rather than just passively relying on these plans alone. Understand the rules, the risks, the alternatives.
Which ties into the warning about just being a saver today.
The bond market, where savings often go, needs borrowers, but with low interest and inflation.
Savers might actually be losing purchasing power over time, especially if money printing increases inflation, a big shift from saving is always safe.
In this kind of environment, the old wisdom might not be enough. Understanding and participating in investment markets becomes more critical.
The book then outlines 5 levels of investors. Saver, borrower, I'm too busy.
Then I'm a professional, and finally the level 5, capitalist.
The capitalist uses debt, other people's money, OPM, strategically. It's a fascinating progression.
Yeah, it helps you see where you are now and where you could aim to be. Shows increasing sophistication and leverage.
And then there's that B quadrant quiz, the asset test.
Right. Can you leave your business for a year or more and come back to find it more profitable and running better?
If you can confidently say yes,
you've likely built a true B quadrant business, system-dependent, not owner-dependent, generating passive income.
That really cuts to the chase. Okay, part 5 delves into security versus freedom and the trap of debt.
A really common tension.
Why do people choose security? Often conditioning, right? School, home, leading to fear of losing the job.
Especially when trapped by debt, student loans, credit cards. That perceived security feels essential.
That desire for security is powerful, but the book argues it can come at the cost of real freedom.
It can. A trade-off many make, perhaps without fully realizing it.
And then the controversial statement, your house is not an asset.
Always gets a reaction. But the rich dad's logic is specific. Does it put money in your pocket regularly?
No, usually the opposite. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, upkeep. It takes money out. So by his definition, it's a liability.
Contrasting sharply with the common view, the educated dad view, that it's your biggest asset. It's about cash flow direction.
This redefinition of asset liability based on cash flow is fundamental to his philosophy.
Absolutely key. An asset feeds you, a liability eats.
Then the money trap concept, how more income doesn't always mean more wealth.
Right. Often leads to higher taxes, more debt, lifestyle inflation. Keeps you on the treadmill, working harder just to stay put.
So managing expenses and debt is crucial, regardless of income level.
Discipline.
The book argues true security and freedom are rarely found on the left side, E or S.
Because you're vulnerable. Right. Job loss for an E, burnout, or income caps for an S tied to your own hours.
It also mentions that cycle of job hopping, chasing a better job but never achieving real stability.
Yeah, always looking externally instead of building internally.
The right side, BNI, with passive income and assets, offers a potentially more sustainable path to long-term security and freedom.
A different kind of security, built on systems and knowledge, not just a paycheck.
And the point about the worst advice for kids now versus pre-1930s.
Right. Go to school, get a safe job, might have worked better before high income taxes and easy debt became such big factors for employees.
Compared to the B and I quadrants, which often have significant tax advantages, like deferring gains with a 1031 exchange in real estate.
It just highlights how the rules of the game have changed. Understanding taxes and leverage becomes vital for wealth building today.
Okay, part 6 focuses on actively building a business system. How to get to the B side.
3 quicker paths suggested. Find a mentor who's already done it.
Learn from someone who's walked the path.
Yep.
Makes sense.
2, buy a franchise.
Yep.
Leverage their proven system.
Right, you're buying a working model.
3, join a network marketing business, focusing on the system and team building, not just the product.
The common thread seems to be leveraging existing systems or knowledge, not reinventing the wheel from scratch.
Yeah.
And being careful who you take advice from.
Exactly. Learn from B's and E's if you want to become one. Don't necessarily take B quadrant advice from an E or S mindset.
The book specifically mentions the educational value in some network marketing companies, learning business skills, leadership.
Yeah, it suggests focusing on that potential for personal development beyond just selling products.
Yeah.
Endorses organizations committed to that.
It's an interesting angle, looking at it as a business school almost.
A less conventional one, perhaps, but potentially valuable for gaining real-world skills and building a network.
Ultimately, these business systems are framed as bridges, right?
Yes. Bridges from the left side, active income, to the right side, passive income and assets. They provide the path.
Because effective systems are what allow a business to scale beyond one person's time, generating that passive B quadrant income.
That's the engine right there. Separation between owner involvement and income generation.
Okay, part 7 revisits the 5 levels of investors, but with a crucial reframe.
It tackles that common fear. Investing is risky.
And counters it with the rich dad's view. Being financially uneducated is risky.
Such a powerful shift in perspective. Lack of knowledge is the real danger, not investing itself.
Then it challenges the diversification dogma, the idea that spreading money thinly is always best for building wealth.
Right, citing Warren Buffett's preference for focused investment, putting capital where you have deep understanding and conviction.
Suggesting that might be more effective than diversifying into things you don't fully grasp just for the sake of it.
Exactly. Know what you own and why.
The book really pushes you, the listener, to become an educated investor yourself. Learn the ropes.
Hey, don't just hand your money over blindly or wait until retirement. Take control.
And the redefined ROI. Not just return on investment, but return on information.
Love that. Knowledge reduces risk and increases potential returns. It empowers you.
It also touches on level 5 investor traits the capitalist. Using OPM, creating deals.
But also, surprisingly perhaps, generosity. A mindset of abundance.
Interesting. Mastery of finance, deal-making, and maybe a broader understanding of interconnectedness.
It suggests a high level of financial intelligence and perhaps a different relationship with money itself.
Okay, part 8. Financial intelligence and seeing with your mind.
Getting into the mental game.
Rich Dad's definition again. Not just how much you make.
But how much you keep after taxes, etc. How hard it works for you and for how many generations.
It's a comprehensive view. Income generation, wealth preservation, deployment, legacy.
Truly holistic financial success.
And this idea of training your mind to see money, to see opportunities.
Contrasting the average 95% eyes, 5% mind approach, reacting to the surface.
With the needed B and I approach. 5% eyes, 95% mind. Understanding the principles, not just the obvious.
It's about looking deeper. Analyzing statements, seeing patterns, understanding underlying economics, not just the surface numbers.
And financial literacy, knowing the words and numbers, is the foundation.
Absolutely. Got to speak the language.
Sure. The book dives into the real meanings of asset, liability, mortgage, that death pledge origin.
Okay.
Finance, real estate, royal estate, derivatives.
Yeah, understanding the history and true function of these terms is crucial. Avoids common, costly misunderstandings.
It highlights how much interest you pay early in a mortgage.
Oof, yeah. That amortization reality can be shocking.
And the concept that modern money is essentially debt, an IOU based on confidence, sets the stage for understanding the bigger economic picture.
These insights reveal the mechanics behind common financial tools and challenge conventional wisdom.
And that question, who is indebted to whom becomes central.
Really drives home the importance of understanding deal structures, avoiding personal liability for big ventures where possible. Know the rules before you play.
Use leverage wisely. Ensure debt is serviced by the asset or by others if possible.
That's smart debt, according to the book.
Okay, part 9 takes a more personal turn. Bringing out the best in you, the internal journey.
This is huge, maybe the most important part.
The core message. Moving from job security to financial freedom isn't just about doing different things. It's about becoming a different person.
Exactly. The internal growth, the mindset shifts are essential. It's a transformation.
It warns against money becoming like a drug, getting addicted to the paycheck.
Instead, focus on creating systems that generate income independently.
Yeah.
Break the habit of only working for wages.
And overcoming past conditioning, societal pressures that hold you back from unconventional paths, that takes real internal work.
Challenging those deeply ingrained beliefs about money and risk.
The book uses quotes from Galileo, Twain, Einstein, all highlighting limits of traditional schooling and the power of self-education.
Right, emphasizing that need for lifelong learning, especially in finance, business, investing, taking responsibility for your own education.
The author reflects on his wallet company failing due to lack of passion.
And his shift to education being more fulfilling and successful, aligning work with core values.
It resonates. Passion fuels persistence, which you definitely need.
Absolutely. You can't sustain something long-term without genuine interest.
Then the idea of economic downsizing and the need to mind your own business.
Take responsibility for your financial future. Don't rely solely on an employer. Build your own assets.
It contrasts left-side risks, job insecurity for E, burnout for S, with right-side potential for greater real security through systems and knowledge.
Yeah, challenging that notion that a job is the safest place to be. Building assets can be more resilient long-term.
And we pay for that perceived security on the left side, don't we? Higher taxes, opportunity costs.
That's an interesting point the book makes.
Develop your own financial vision. Don't just follow the herd.
And while the to-do list might seem simple, the real key, like Think and Grow Rich suggests, is thinking differently. Mindset first.
Remember the modest beginnings of many wealthy people and how perfectionism, common in S, can hinder moving to B or I.
Got to be willing to delegate, take action, even if it's imperfect, learn from mistakes. Can't control everything yourself in a scalable B or I venture.
The biggest cause of financial struggle, fear of losing money.
Which leads to the importance of emotional intelligence, citing Goldman. Academic smarts don't guarantee financial success if fear paralyzes you.
That internal battle, the emotional child wanting safety now versus the logical parent thinking long-term, managing that internal dialogue is key during transitions.
Understanding your own emotional triggers around money is vital.
Different quadrants have vastly different perspectives on risk, opportunity, everything.
EVSI, SVSB, EVSB, they see the world differently.
And that tension between the educated, ES, valuing theory, and the rich, BI, valuing practical results.
Yeah, a recurring theme. Different definitions of success and useful knowledge.
Identify limiting beliefs, emotionally charged thoughts holding you back, and know you can change them.
Cultivate emotional neutrality towards winning and losing. Both are just feedback, learning opportunities.
It's an internal journey, changing core beliefs, skills, like learning to ride a bike. You fall, you get up, you adjust.
Contrasting mindsets. Security versus freedom. Avoid risk versus manage risk. Recommends Alexander Elder for insights on risk management.
The transition is profound, adopting new beliefs, skills, a new relationship with risk and money.
Absolutely. It's a complete internal overhaul.
Okay, finally, part 10. Baby steps to financial freedom. Practical actions.
Let's get concrete.
Starts with the 86 Tax Reform Act example, how it shifted wealth, favoring B&I, hitting some real estate loopholes used by others.
Shows how rules changes create opportunities for the prepared.
And reframes downturns, not disasters, but potential opportunities for B&I folks with cash or access to credit.
Buy assets when they're on sale, basically, if you're positioned correctly.
Touches on the cycles of financial heroes and villains.
And gives examples of creating assets, lending money, carefully, using a corporation for protection tax benefits, smart real estate deals, low down, leveraged debt paid by tenants.
Even compares an IPO to small real estate deals, creating value, selling equity. Same principles, different scale.
Focus on acquiring income-generating assets. That's the recurring theme. Build or buy things that pay you.
Briefly mentions government deficits, potential impact on retirement funds, taxes, historical perspective on recessions.
The changing nature of offshore, now cyberspace too. But the core formula holds. Build a business, buy real estate.
Still a powerful combo for wealth creation.
Mm-hmm.
3 qualities lifting people from poverty to wealth: long-term vision, delayed gratification, power of compounding, knowledge too.
And 3, leading from wealth back to poverty. Living only for pleasure now. Blame game. Lack of ongoing financial education.
So important. Build it, but also know how to keep it and grow it.
The focus returns to who you become, not just getting rich quick. Take small, consistent steps. Underachieve daily towards big goals.
Adapt your financial rules for the information age. Use personal financial statements like X-rays know your financial health.
Shift from minding someone else's business, job, to minding your own. Be the CEO of your life's finances. Take control of cash flow.
Distinguish good debt, buys assets paid by others, from bad debt, funds consumption paid by you.
And that step-by-step plan to get out of bad debt. Focus extra payments on one, minimums on others. Snowball or avalanche method.
A target. Assets exceeding liabilities by age 45 is a good sign.
Discusses investor types again. Cautious, busy, active. Need to be all 3 sometimes. Educate yourself in business and investing. B skills often help I success.
Value mentors? Done it over just advisors. Tell you how. Your inner circle matters. Align with supportive, knowledgeable people.
Treat disappointment as data, a learning opportunity. Be aware of those truths spoken at peak emotion. They reveal core beliefs, maybe limiting ones.
Choose your beliefs.
Right.
Develop the knowledge you need. Start small. Seek education. Play the Cashflow game to retrain your thinking.
The author defines an entrepreneur's job, creating stable jobs. And the final message.
Change yourself first. Mindset, skills, habits. That's where financial freedom truly begins.
It all circles back to that internal journey.
So wrapping up our deep dive into Rich Dad's Cashflow Quadrant, the key takeaway: financial freedom is achievable.
Yeah, it's not fantasy. But it requires understanding the quadrant, cultivating the right mindset, embracing learning, managing fear.
Developing real financial literacy and taking consistent action. Even baby steps count.
Empowering yourself through self-education, seeking mentors with real experience, and knowing your own emotional responses to money and risk. Self-awareness is huge.
Absolutely. So for our final thought today, for you listening, take a moment, reflect. Which quadrant are you mostly in right now?
And maybe more importantly, which one truly aligns with your vision of financial freedom? What does that look like for you?
And what's one small, meaningful baby step you can commit to starting today to move in that direction? Maybe it's just getting the book, exploring the ideas further.
That first step, however small, could be the most important one.